Welcome, everybody, to This Is Not a Drill. My name is Melina Abdullah, and this is our political education platform. This is the space every Thursday night that we discuss really things that are important to Black liberation struggle. And if you've been paying attention to what Black Lives Matter has been doing in recent weeks, I guess it's been 17 days. I won't sing it, don't worry, Joseph. Then you know that we have been protesting, we have been demonstrating in front of the mansion that's occupied by the mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, trying to block any appointment to the Biden cabinet. And so for 17 days, we've been in front of the mayor's mansion, lifting up and trying to expose his terrible record of police abuse, of supporting to the point of crippling. Is that a word? Crippling. No, it's not a word, is it? Crippling other entities. Y'all laughing? Why is Megan? So look, let me say this. I'm gonna call that coining a new phrase. Crippleization. It was the crippleization of non-policing departments by overfunding police to the tune of 54% of the city's general fund. And so despite the fact that LAPD is the most murderous, most corrupt police department in the country, Eric Garcetti continues to feed it the vast majority of the city's general fund. And we know that he also has empowered an LAPD commission, a police commission, that really just rubber stamps anything the police department does, as well as silencing voices of dissent. Baba Akili, who's joining us tonight, wrote a recent piece on that for the Los Angeles Progressive, and we'll talk about that as well. We've also been demonstrating because Eric Garcetti was being considered for HUD secretary, even though he has led Los Angeles to become the homelessness capital of the country. We've seen a 42% spike in the unhoused population on Eric Garcetti's watch, and that is before the coronavirus pandemic. Now we're looking at another 120,000 people who will likely be unhoused in the next couple of months as a result of his policies. And then finally, we know that he was being considered for Secretary of Transportation, despite the fact that he has, as chair of the MTA board, really taken money out of busing systems that working class people use and putting those dollars into trains that allow more affluent riders to cut through Black, brown, poor communities and gentrify folks out, displace the residents of those communities. His lack of investment in the bus system was so severe that federal intervention was required. So what would it mean if he were the federal intervention? So we have been protesting for 17 days outside of his home. And I guess he got frustrated on Sunday, because on Sunday, there had been a line, dozens of police officers on your dollars, on taxpayer dollars, every single day had been lining the fence of his mansion. So all along the gate that surrounds his mansion, there were police, some masked, some unmasked, in the middle of the pandemic, pretending like they were guarding something, pretending like they were having to protect something from what? I don't know, from chants, from dances, from noise, from bullhorns, possibly from the children that run around and understand that it is their sacred duty. They're being raised to understand that it's their sacred duty and they have the power to create change in their community. If this were white folks, they would call it civic engagement, but because it's led by Black people, they call it something else and criminalize us for it. So on Sunday, we believe at the behest of Eric Garcetti, police were sent in to violently attack demonstrators. And so what we're going to be talking about tonight on This Is Not a Drill is the history, the political history of Black protest and police violence. We have three phenomenal guests with us who are all members of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. So this is a family conversation happening here tonight. We have Baba Akili, who really needs no introduction, but has been in the struggle for Black liberation for many years, was first trained by Cesar Chavez, and came up in the Farm Workers Union, was part of the Black Power movement, and has remained active in many, many different iterations of Black freedom struggle. We have also joining us Joseph Williams, who's part of the Black Lives Matter Los Angeles core team, along with Baba Akili and I, and Sister Jan and Mama Paula, who leads much of this work and has been especially crucial to the demonstrations in front of Eric Garcetti's house, has been the one who has not missed a day and has made sure that we're present, that our chants are strong, our messages are strong, that people maintain courageous discipline. Joseph Williams, who also is a coordinator, I don't know your official title, Joseph, for Students Deserve, is also joining us tonight. And then finally, on the other end of the spectrum, we got seasoned veteran Baba Akili. We got brand new to the struggle, as in a year in. Are you a year in yet, Kalila? Not quite a year in, because she is 17 years old, right? Fierce, 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 naturally brilliant, intuitive, but also deeply committed organizer, Kalila Williams, who's been leading a lot of the work about defunding school police, about making Black Lives Matter in schools, and is part of our youth vanguard, who has been present as much as Zoom school will allow her to be, demonstrating in front of Garcetti's house, and was there and was one of the young people who was directly targeted by police as they brutalized, beat, arrested, and traumatized so many of our folks last Sunday. So I just want to start this conversation by saying thank you to my comrades, my movement family, my friends, my spirit, child. I'm very grateful to you all for your commitment and for the beloved community that we build, for your deep commitment to Black liberation. Thankful to be in struggle with you all, and especially thankful, especially grateful to Baba Akili. I shared this morning at our gathering that I was 21 when I moved to Los Angeles, and 22 when I met Baba Akili, who, you know, I've been involved in demonstrations before. I'm a child of the 70s from Oakland, California, right? And so, of course, my first protest was at birth, right? But I'd never been trained as an organizer until I met Baba Akili. And so Baba Akili taught me so many tools of organizing. He taught me about different types of organizing. He taught me some tricks of organizing, and he continues to be a mentor, a Baba, and also one who all of us look to for not just inspiration and leadership, but also example of how to walk in this movement and how to commit our lives to freedom struggle. And so we want to begin with Baba Akili to kind of talk us through a little bit the political history of Black protest. And, you know, it's not lost on us. One of the things that you continue to teach me, I think I was in one of those whiny moments that I get in sometimes. And I was sharing with you kind of some of my frustration about having to deal with some repercussions for my organizing. And you reminded me, Baba Akili, that I signed up for this, right? I signed up for this. We sign up for this. And so when you sign up to be a person in struggle, to be somebody who's committed to Black liberation, this is not a hobby. This is not a knitting circle. You know, you can't say I'm going to topple a system of exploitation and white supremacy and not expect to be met by the full force of that system. And so that exists in many ways. And we got to suck it up and keep fighting. And so I appreciate that lesson as well as many of the other lessons. Can you begin just by talking about that truism that we have to fight, there's going to be backlash, and we have to keep fighting so that we can ultimately win?
Well, thank you, and I appreciate being here with you and Joseph and Kalila, because it says to me the movement is in good hands. Um, Kalila is beginning, and I've certainly been doing this now for going into 50 years. So the movement is in good hands. And when you make this choice, and this choice ain't for everybody. I know a lot of people who see me today and go, brother, you still doing that? Yes. But it's a choice that I made some time ago. And, Melina, you know that I've shared this with you before. My family made the commitment and made I made the choice, they paid the price. But that's how, if you want to see real change in this society, you make those choices. And so part of what we are doing, part of the reason why, and I love saying this, part of the reason why Black Lives Matters is supported by 78% of the people is because we have made the choice to challenge, the choice to engage in direct action, and the choice to demand transformative change. Those choices, then that puts us in opposition to the status quo. And you may remember this, you stopped getting invited to certain things once once it was clear that you were involved with Black Lives Matters. Certain people stopped calling on you. And that's the kind of choices that we make. So I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad that we have decided to exercise first of all, our First Amendment right, and then secondly, to challenge the failed leadership of Eric Garcetti. He shouldn't, and Pete, I heard Pete say this the other day, he shouldn't be able to fail forward. And in no other environment, if you fail at the job, do people promote you? You know what I mean? Except within the corporate world and the political world. So what we are doing is saying that you can't fail and get promoted at the same time. You can fail and stay where you are, but you can't fail and get promoted. And so part of what we have been doing is sending that message. And I think certainly Joseph's voice and Kalila's voice have helped lift that idea up and advance it to people and help people understand it. The other thing, and I hope we get around to this, is the community that we built in the past 17 days and how people are supporting each other. But I want to just go back very quickly. This is how the police think and act. And they got a history of doing that here in Los Angeles, going back to the uprisings, both in 92 and in 65. They control and suppress. That's all they know how to do. They did it when we went to the police commission. They used to fill that room with police, shoulder to shoulder, when we would simply come to express our position in opposition to the status quo. They arrested us. They arrested you. I had a 10-day trial that they arrested me again. But that's because they want to suppress us. They want to control us. They want to stop us, and they think they can intimidate us. And that's the mistake that they made. So I want to, let me stop here because I really want to hear from Joseph and Kalila. One of the things that I've struggled with, because I've had a chance to speak a lot over the years, is my time for speaking may have come and gone. I want to hear from other folks now. I mean, I'm still going to share, but I want to hear from other people. I want to know when to speak and when not to speak, because I've had my chances. I've spoke a lot. So I want to hear from them. I want to hear from you about what we're doing and why we're doing it and the impact of it.
Well, before we do that, Baba Akili, can you just tell us quickly why you keep making this choice? Because it's an everyday choice, right? And we know that you've been making this choice every day for many, many years. Why do you do that?
One, because of the people. I mean, I always get inspired and energized by Black folks and our capacity, our talents, and our will. I mean, that has driven me, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some good Black folks and good folks over the years that have helped connect me and keep me connected. And then finally, it's the choice I made. I've never done anything else for all my adult life, except for that one time I went, I worked for Herb Wesson and Vera Rugosa. And that gave me an opportunity to be on the inside. I'm accustomed to being on the outside throwing rocks. I was on the inside ducking, but I learned some valuable lessons. And so for me, it is being connected and reconnected to the people. It is seeing our successes in all its forms. Just standing up is a success in many cases, because we've been told so much, so often, that we can't. And I want to focus on, yes, we can, yes, we have, and yes, we will. So that's what keeps me going. I know tomorrow I'm going to see y'all. And I know y'all are going to be as enthusiastic and as committed as I am. And that reinforces me. And I hope that we together reinforce other people.
Thank you, Baba Akili. We're going to go in order, if that's okay. Because there's an incredible photo. Hey, Rory. There's an incredible photo of you walking with Joseph Williams. And I think y'all have your twinsies, like you have on the same shirt, right? And I just think that it's so powerful to look at what you've inspired, Baba Akili, but also so powerful because Joseph, as a young man, you could be making different choices. And instead, I don't know what time you have to get up in the morning to be there at 8 o'clock. And especially when we think about the last night coupled with this morning being out till late at night and then getting up again early in the morning to, chant like nobody else can chant, right? To inspire and awaken like nobody else can inspire and awaken, to speak in ways that really move us, right? People move not just based on intellect. You speak to our minds, but you also speak to our spirits. And you could be doing something else, right? A lot of young folks want to live their lives and have fun and do all of these things that young people do. But I think that you found beauty and joy and fun. It is fun. It's fun to me. We be laughing every day. We laugh, right? You found that in the movement. I know a lot about your background, right? And I'm thankful that we've been in space long enough to share that. But I'd love for you to share what inspires you and wakes you up and makes you make that choice every single day, Joseph.
Ooh, absolutely. And thanks for that question. And, to be completely honest, your example and the example of Baba Akili definitely have been hugely impactful to who I am and to, what I see my role is in this movement. And, just to sing Baba Akili's praises a little bit more, Baba Akili's been there, if not 17 days, about 15 or so, 14, 15 of them days, every single day in the morning, as not trying to age you, but you already said you've been involved in the movement for 50 plus years, right? As a man that's over 70 years old, right? And that's powerful. That's really powerful to me as somebody who has been committed to struggling for the liberation of our people for decades, for longer than I've been alive. So, how can I feel tired? How can I not, try to follow that example and try to live up to the bar that's being set for me by Baba Akili, by, you, Dr. Melina, by so many other folks who have been leaders in this movement and also personal inspirations for me. And I think also, to take it to Baba Akili's point and also the point of this conversation, right, about protest and how we can continue to do this and to stand up against this abuse and repression that we're facing, right? Because it's not just, the grind of constantly being out there and yelling and whatever. It's the real threats, right? The real threats of physical violence and the real enacted physical violence and psychological violence and so many other forms that our folks face by standing up every day. And, not many of us have faced that level of threat, Dr. Abdullah, that you faced and had levied against you, right? And we've seen that historically, that our folks, when standing up for their rights, when standing up for freedom and liberation for our people, have been attacked, right? Have been mercilessly attacked. And not only Black people, but also, other folks who have chosen to join this fight for liberation with us, right? If we talk about the folks who were murdered during the Freedom Rise, right? And we talk about, the sister who was murdered where I'm from in Virginia, right, in 2017, in Charlottesville, when the white supremacists rode into the crowd, right? And our sister who was arrested, and our other folks who were brutalized this Sunday, right? That folks who also join in and support this Black liberation struggle have been abused and brutalized. And at the same time, our folks have, in the face of that, constantly stood up and said, we're going to fight anyway. We're going to stand up anyway. We're going to speak up anyway. We're going to show up anyway. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be scared. We're not going to be silenced. We're not going to be shut down or shut out. We're going to show up for our people. We're going to demand justice and demand change. And that's really the only way in this country that you've seen real change, right? Is when folks have said, despite all of the systems of oppression that are stacked against us, despite all of the interpersonal racism and the structural and institutional abuses that we're facing, despite the daily physical violence and threats of violence that we're facing, we're going to stand up anyway, because we deserve it, because our people deserve it, right? And because we are demanding something different. And to me, again, being around folks like you all who are such a powerful example of that every single day, and have been so for the entirety of the time that I've known y'all. And also having been inspired by other folks that I've learned about or learned from or have been in my own bloodline, right, who have dedicated their lives to fighting for their people in different ways, to me is like, how can I not make this choice? And I said this morning, and I'll close with this, but asking if we're tired. I asked our crowd if we're tired after day 17. And are we wondering, are we hoping, are we wishing that we could be spending this time alone, or rather with our families during the holidays, right? Why are we out here yelling and marching and doing all this nonsense? Wouldn't it be better if we could just be at home spending time with our families? And then we remember why we're out there in the first place, right? Again, yesterday was the second year anniversary of the murder of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, and his mother, Sister Sherilyn, can't sit at home with her only child, right, who was stolen from her by Torrance police. And there's so many other family members and loved ones and community members who we know, right, who can't take the luxury to sit at home and enjoy, the holidays with their loved ones, either because of police violence or because of gentrification and houselessness that has increased under Eric Garcetti, or all these other things, right? And so that, to me, is really the call. The call is to stand up and be there for our people who are struggling. And the inspiration is you all, who have shown me such a positive, and profound example over these years, for sure.
Thank you, Joseph. And we are grateful for the choice that you've made. Also, we want to lift up that it's also, it sounds heavy, but we're going to try to also mention some spaces of joy. Like when you get up early in the morning and you meet us in the park, instead of meeting us at Garcetti's house, there is hella donuts, right? There's music, there's we're making flags, there's things that make the movement beautiful. And I'm wondering, Kalila, if it's those kinds of beautiful things that would bring a 17-year-old who is in your senior year in high school. Well, I don't know if that's so great right now, like it's COVID, right? But you're supposed to be having fun. You're supposed to be having a good time. You're supposed to be enjoying your friends. And instead, we see, even before coronavirus, we see you and your 17-year-old self chanting down Babylon, leading marches, yelling at school board members, and organizing other 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds and bringing them into the movement as well. So Kalila, I just want to ask you the same question that I asked Baba Akili and Joseph. What is it, especially not even a year into the work, what is it that keeps you so committed to doing this work?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Molina. I think for me, most definitely, it's the family, it's the community. Because when people say I'd rather be at home with my family than be out in the streets, this is like essentially a family. Like Joseph's the one that brought me into this work, and every morning, just like knowing that Joseph's out there and Joseph's loud and energetic, like that is energy that inspires me to keep going, and knowing that I'm going to see people who inspire me, such as yourself and Baba Akili, who've been in this work and invested time in it. And I know I've only been in it for like a couple of months, but just to see like what can possibly happen and what can possibly be true if you continue to do this work is also another victory. Because the victories that we have, we celebrate, of course, but we also understand that there's more to that work than just that one victory. There's more to than just sitting there and saying, well, we did this, there's nothing next. And we continue this work. And so, like I said, it's everyone here that makes me continue to keep going. And also knowing that you're serving a purpose for what you do.
Mhm.
Because I know personally that when I hear someone say like, oh, you're like inspiring and stuff like that, like for me, that's a motivation to keep going. Because every victory that we have counts. And we celebrate as a family. And that's what really keeps me going. And so I'm so grateful to be a part of BLM, and know that if I need anything, I know who to call. And also like just to cherish the moments that we have, whether it's together celebrating something or just honoring someone who's lost a loved one, or being there for other people, because that's what we do as a community. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're saying that we're there to, not only to say a name or to show up in the streets. We're saying that we're there to support the community that we say we're here for. And it clearly shows every day. We're out there in the streets when we're out there every day at Garcetti's house, that community gets brought together, and we see everyone there. And for me, like I see my friends, because like the people in Youth Vanguard, those are my friends. And so for me, it's not a loss of my senior year. It's another joy that comes to me being able to be within this work.
That's really powerful, Kalila. You're right. It is a beloved community. These are our friends, and we've become family through this work. I told you I feel uncomfortable when you call me Dr. Molina, because you've become like, another child for me, right? Because some of the other Youth Vanguard members are my children. And, I like that after the demonstrations, you come over, right? And
Yeah.
we hang out, and we've built family. And it really is beautiful. And I'm gonna tell on Joseph. Joseph be keeping me up all night. Him and Kendrick be keeping me up all playing spades, right? Playing spades all night. And having fun, right? Like normally I'm a professor. I'm supposed to be reading books, but you remind me that we gotta get down into our joy as well. Because in our joy, we're also balancing out. And I think that this is one of the most beautiful parts of Black people, right? We find joy in so many spaces because there's so much that's heaped upon us, right? And so I want to get to the question that we're really supposed to be posing tonight, because it's 7:30. Who's it? Trying to see what you saying in this chat. Spades lose. Y'all typing in the chat that Joseph be losing every time in spades. Is that
This is blasphemy.
No, it's not. Tell her that she's wrong.
Not every time. I haven't lost every time. We got.
Okay, what percentage have you won?
Hey, look, I'm not that good at math, so I can't calculate the percentage. But we got my share. And look, I'm
You
always
got one win. You have
I'm
a
always
total of
winning
one win.
because
Huh?
I'm gaining knowledge and experience from blessed family members. So I'm always winning.
That's one way to put on it. That's one way to spin it. I'm certainly curious, and I do want to talk about why we need to block Garcetti. But you're a mother of three. You teach at Cal State LA. You are involved in a number of things, but yet you keep going, and you keep going despite the fact that there's been additional levels of pressure put on you. What keeps you going?
Did Baba Keely just take my host duties?
He showed it. We want to know, Doc.
So let me say quickly, what keeps me going is I believe and I feel fulfilled that I live a life of purpose. And I think that being in this work has given me purpose. And so I tell Patrice all the time, you know, I'm grateful for her vision in birthing Black Lives Matter. I'm grateful that I was allowed to be there for the birthing process. And I'm grateful that I'm part of this journey because it's given my life purpose, you know. And there's highs and lows in life that we all experience moments of intense joy, and we're not going to be able to stay there forever. We're not going to be able to live in our joy forever, right? So you get a new boyfriend, you like, phew, I feel great, right? And then y'all break up, phew, right? But purpose is what keeps this steady. And so for me, Black Lives Matter and Black liberation struggle has given my life purpose. And that's why I stay in the work, as well as I really believe that Martin Luther King's notion of beloved community, we've built Black Lives Matter to be beloved community, right? Like all of us, like we're genuinely family, genuinely family. We genuinely love one another. There's really nothing I wouldn't do for any of you. And I know that there's nothing you wouldn't, when we on Facebook, so I could cuss. When shit popped off, like Joseph is at my house if shit pops off. Baba Keely is pulling up if shit pops off. Kalila, I know if you could walk here, you would, right? But we all genuinely love each other. And I think that also keeps us in it. And it's fun. And there's donuts. I love donuts. That's the one thing I agree with police on. Donuts are delicious. And so, you know, it is what it is. I want to move us though to really kind of the meat of what we're supposed to be talking about here tonight, that there's this fun, there's this beauty in the struggle, there's beloved community. And when we're trying to topple a state that's built on our backs, there's also repercussions. And I want to know first from Kalila, because Sunday, there's a lot that happens that's unplanned, right? And Sunday was one of those moments that I didn't see coming, that we were 400 to 500 people outside of Garcetti's house. And that is not Molina math, that's real numbers, right? 400 to 500 people outside of Garcetti's house. We had planned that our protest was going to be a Sunday brunch. And we set up for the brunch. The children were, the youth, not the babies, the youth were walking forward to walk us into what this action was going to look like. And next thing you know, Joseph, I know you didn't think it was going to pop off because you were still chanting. And I had to tell you, Joseph, I think you should stop chanting now, right? Because you were chanting about, we about to have some brunch, right? And the police rushed us. They named you, they targeted you, Joseph, but they also made a beeline for the children, for Kalila and Tandiwe specifically. And I'm wondering how that made you feel, because I saw you. it was clear that you were frightened, but you also maintained a level of composure. Kalila, what was going through your mind? And, you know, what did you think? What did you feel when that happened? Describe it for us.
Yeah, like as you said, it was completely unexpected. I was looking at Joseph, we're chanting, talking about we about to eat some brunch. And then next thing you know, I start seeing these officers get into formation, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, nobody did anything. Um, um, and so then I'm just like, wait, just to turn around. And um, just seeing the police rush over from across the street, it was scary because, like, I honestly didn't think that was gonna happen because the intentions for that day were, not to start like anything, not to riot, nothing like that. It was a peaceful protest. We were chanting, um, about to eat brunch, as we said, and then for that to pop off, like, that's just that one moment where you don't have any words. Um, when you literally see one of the top things that fears you every day right in front of you, fear, like, literally um, doing something so traumatic to not only, like, yourself, but to, like, people around you that you call family, people that you count on around you. It's just something that, like, just makes you angry, but it also just makes you, like, heavy hearted because, when you think about this movie, as we said, like, you commit to this work, and there's repercussions with this work. But I didn't expect for that day to pop off like that because it wasn't supposed to be like that. But when you say that, there's never like a planned out scenario of how things are going to go when you're involved in this work. um and yeah, like I said, when I first saw those officers lined up, the first thing that came to me was like, I know, like, with kids on the front line, they're not going to do this. And, like, it shocked me, it surprised me because the officers looked directly at some of the children and charged at them. They had no regards to who was in the crowd. Um, and for the explanation afterwards, it was just disrespectful, but it was also like it was unbelievable because for me that was my first time experiencing something like that, and I know that for others, like, they may have seen something like that before, people who have been in this work. But for me, seeing how there was no regards to anyone's safety, not especially the children that were there, the youth, as I should say, um, it was just scary. Um, and, like, yeah, like, I was left speechless for a moment. But afterwards, when we came together and we as a community, like, met, we debriefed, we talked about it, um, you couldn't see that support that was there. Everyone was asking, like, who was okay, did we need anything, um, and we understood why all of this had happened. But even still in that moment, when you think about it, it's that moment that makes your hand shake, it's that moment that makes your heart beat. It's that moment that really makes you question everything that you do. But for me, that just made me question, like, not do I want to still continue this, but let's go, let's keep going. Like, that was my motivation, that just determined me more. Like, nothing was gonna deter me. If I could show up the next day, I would have, but school. But, like, for me, that just motivated me more to keep going, because I'm like, now this is people who I've grown so close to. This is my family. And this was attacked to me and my family. So this is something that I know that I'm doing. And I want to continue this. But it's also, yes, it is hard. It is traumatic when you see experiences like that. And it doesn't matter what age you were. Like, we had 10-year-olds, we had 4-year-olds, 2-year-olds in the crowd. It doesn't matter, when you're fighting for something like this, because these systems are going to be against no matter what.
I just want to say I watched your feed after everything went down, Kalila, and I was so proud of you because even in the midst of your own trauma, you and Tandiwe exercised such love for the younger children, right? You demonstrated such love for those two little girls, the two 10-year-olds who were there, who it was their second day of protest. They were excited to be there. And, I also watched their videos, right? And them be so traumatized by police that they lost their language. And I shared with some folks that watching their videos, we have to remember that the way state violence works is it doesn't honor even the most sacred things about us. Black people are not even, Black children are not even afforded the right to be children, not even at 10 years old, right? That those police prevented those little girls from getting back to their uncle. And they were pleading with the police and they kept saying, but we're childs, right? But we're childs, right? Because they couldn't understand what's happening. And I think that what allowed them to come back to themselves was the love of the community, but especially the love that the young people showed them, because you and Tandiwe sought them out. You made sure that they got in the car. You made sure that we showered them with love. And, I think that it tended to some of that trauma. I think the trauma was also tended to when we got back to the park and we still had brunch, right? We still had brunch. We had brunch anyway, maybe not in front of the mayor's house, but we weren't letting all those good old mini quiches and home cooked meals and donuts go to waste, right? So we still had our brunch, but I just want to say thank you, Kalila, for moving in that way. Joseph, the police were dead set on grabbing you. And the video that we saw, the feeds that we saw after the fact, you could hear the sergeant yell, grab him in the turquoise shirt. And I think Baba Akili and I have also been on the other end of, that targeting, that grab that one. In a way, it's a recognition that you are a leader in this movement, but it's also, something to be conscious of, that you are actively being targeted by a police force that is dangerous, that is murderous. I don't know if you heard them say that in the moment or if you had to see the videos afterwards. What did it mean to you that they said, grab him in the turquoise shirt?
I did hear it in the moment. And to me, more than what that meant to me was what folks' response was. And that really showed me that it's not just words, right? That, we talk about our commitment and our love for each other and we keep us safe and we're a beloved community and we're family and all that. And, it's truly not just words. And in that moment, that was really demonstrated to me, the way that folks showed up, right? The way that Baba Akili, for one, right, was one of the first people to really make sure that he was in between me and the police and that he was trying to keep me safe in whatever way that he could. And he ended up getting pushed and trampled over, as a 70-year-old man, right, by police in riot gear with batons and things like that. But the fact that he was willing, and that was his first instinct, right? He didn't have a second thought, right? That was his first instinct, was to keep me safe, to keep us safe, to protect us. And, it really just showed me, some truisms about this movement. This movement, it truly is, a lot of folks say that we just want to yell or be angry or yada, yada, yada. But this movement truly is about love. It's about love for our people. And you see that in the way that folks act under those kind of circumstances, under that high pressure, high stress situation. When we were the side that was unarmed, that was under attack, right, that was being abused, that was being confronted and accosted and swung on with batons and pushed over and beat on and all these things, that our folks turn to each other, turn to protect one another, turn to look out for one another, turn to the most vulnerable folks. There were so many folks that looked out for the kids, right? There were so many folks that was like, oh, as soon as my arms got free, you know, I was like, where are Kalila and Tandiwe and Taylor and Cammie? And they had already been collected, right? Because there were other folks who made sure, right, that they were looking out for our most vulnerable folks first. So that was really powerful to me, and something that Kalila hasn't mentioned, but Kalila this is not the first time that she's faced police violence or white supremacist violence. Just this summer, right, being involved in this movement, right, pushing to defund school police. She's had off-duty school police officers come and try to attack and interrupt their movements. Also, when we went out to Kern County to support the family of Michael Lewis Sr., right, whose niece Jamila Lewis is also a student deserve activist, there was white supremacists who came and tried to attack the family and instigate violence there, right? And so, you know, it's been really powerful to me to see Kalila as a youth leader, and also, again, it has shown itself as a truism of this movement, both that our youth are so often the most courageous among us and help to lead us in these moments and to lead us in moments of radical transformative change, right? We see that again. I mentioned the freedom rides earlier and the sit-ins throughout the South and so many other actions during that time that were led by youth. And at the same time, you saw the real pervasive violence that was visited against those youth during those times, right? You see the pictures of high school and college students staging sit-ins and being beaten and spit on and, you know, ripped from their chairs and their clothes being ripped off and so many other things. And so we see that it is truly, you know, another iteration of the same things that we've seen in the past, right? It's history repeating itself. And it is so powerful that we have youth leaders like Kalila, like Tandiwe, like Jamila, like Amara, like countless other folks in the Youth Vanguard and in Students Deserve and in other spaces that are willing to stand up despite this violence against themselves, despite this violence against their families, and to say, nah, you're not going to scare us and silence us, even as youth, even as minors who maybe can't vote and who maybe don't have a voice in this political process. We are going to make sure that our voices are heard, that our demands are heard, and we're not going to be intimidated or scared. And that's been really, really powerful. You know, the community that I've seen from Baba Akili stepping in there, to really save us and protect us, and also the leadership from these youth to not be intimidated and to say, we're going to keep coming out every time, no matter if we are unarmed 16-year-olds and they're, police in riot gear, we're still here 10 toes down.
Baba Akili, let's pass it over to you, because what keeps coming up is your courage and your willingness to put your body in front of ours, put your body specifically in front of Joseph's. Why did you do that?
Well, my role has emerged and developed over the years because I've done this a lot. And I've been in the middle of this a lot. And so there's some things that I've observed and learned, and I tend to do them now almost without thinking. When I saw them line up, and every time I've seen them line up, across the 6th Street, I start moving us in position so that we can at least resist and move. So some of it's just habit. I mean, it's learned stuff, that I've done. And so my thinking was, if we could at least get in front of them, slow them down, keep them from grabbing key people, and try to hold a line against them. But I think for me, the most important part is to remember that this is a group of people who don't have regard for us and will do exactly what they did on Sunday. Without provocation, without rationale, they will do that. And since I've been around that and I've seen that, then I've just learn to step in, to try to see what's going on, and then to try to move us away. One of the things I do, because I'm the person that tends to move the crowd, is look out for certain people where they are. So I almost know where you are every time. And so I can slow
Oh,
down.
I hear you go. Where's Melina?
Yes.
I hear you. I see you watching. Yes.
And part of that, like I said, is learned because I've had to do this. But part of it is the connection, like you said, to the beloved community that we've developed. And Joseph, your point is, who takes care of us? The police don't take care of us. If anything, they abuse us. If anything, they kill us. So, and once again, for me, it is just learned behavior at this stage in my life. And so that it kicks in without thought.
So, Baba Akili, we're appreciative of that. And every time you look around and I see you look for me or call out for me, it makes me feel secure because we do keep us safe. And you're one of the people who keeps us safe. One of the things that you do also, though, is work very closely with our allies. And what we saw kick in on Sunday was not just Black people loving up on Black people and protecting Black people, but also when White People for Black Lives first emerged 6 years ago, under the brilliant leadership of Dahlia and Jason and many others, they were they would hashtag John Brown, right? They would try to kind of say that's the kind of leadership that they're attempting to invoke. That's the type of camaraderie that they want to have. They want to be accomplices, not just allies. And what we saw on Sunday was a willingness of non-Black folks to step in and take baton hits for Black folks, to take arrests for Black folks. Can you talk about that, about the role of allies? And we need to do it quickly because it's 7:53, so we got 7 minutes left. And I do want to make sure that we address a couple of things before we log off tonight.
Allies and accomplices are important because they act as a buffer. They decided to do that in their development, to act as that buffer. And over the years that we've been working together, they have done that quite well. And so they've provided a critical base of support and a buffer because, and I've observed this, the police treat and respond to them differently.
They treat and respond to them differently. And we still have 2 allies who were hospitalized as a result of their injuries. We still have several folks, allies and Black folks, who suffered injuries out that day. So we want to be clear that when the state comes for us, it's not without effect. It does have an impact. And it also causes a response that makes us say, we're either in it or we're not. We can't pretend like state repression isn't one of the things that we signed up for, as you remind us, Baba Akili. Joseph, is there anything you want to say on that before we get to just a couple of quick questions from Facebook?
Absolutely. Just to rescore Baba Akili's point, they do treat allies differently in a certain way. And that's only up to a point, right? Like the folks we named, that there are folks who have laid down their lives, right, literally alongside Black folks in the history for the Black freedom struggle, and that we have allies who are willing to do so. We obviously don't plan for that and hope that doesn't happen. And it's a blessing to also have allies who are willing to be there for us, just as we often are there, to support them as well. And I think one of the best examples you see, or I've ever seen of this that was captured on camera, is when Stevante Clark, the brother of Stephon Clark, was in, the Sacramento City Council meeting, and he jumps up on the stage, and the police start rushing at him very aggressively. And all that happens is a couple white folks and Asian folks stand up in between the police and Stevante, and then all of a sudden the police act like, we can't touch him. There's this barrier. There's some kind of
right,
barrier,
an invisible barrier of
right?
whiteness. Right.
Right, and you can go look that up, but that's kind of the best example, and we've seen that all the time, right? In our actions, but that's one of the best examples that I've seen videotaped, where you can literally see that their demeanor and their willingness to be aggressive and to be physical with folks changes immediately when white folks and non-Black folks insert themselves in that kind of way. So it's absolutely huge to our movements, and at many times has protected our bodies and lives. So we really appreciate and want to uplift our allies, and condemn the violence that has both, had some of them arrested and hospitalized this weekend.
The best thing as you're talking is watching Rory translate. I don't know if other folks are watching Rory translate, but it's, I don't speak sign language, but I can feel what she's saying as you're saying it. It's really powerful. As we're kind of coming to a close, one of the things that is asked is, who do we go to report police abuse when it's police who are the abusers? Who do we go to report police abuse when it's police who are the abusers? Anybody want to answer that?
Well, it's not the police, that's for sure. And it's not the police commission, that's for sure.
Right.
I think part of this notion about we take care of each other, and why we have been so focused on defunding the police and invest, is because we have no confidence in them disciplining themselves or holding or being held accountable. We have to do that. That's why we have been demanding that for the past 7 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, we keep saying it, but we see it. We keep us safe. We keep us safe. We share it with each other. There's also other mechanisms. All options are on the table, so we're not just going to let them get away with it. But we also know, I think what was really telling is that we suffered this tremendous abuse on Sunday. And then when we showed up on Monday, for the first time ever, there were no police, or none visible. There were none on Tuesday. There were none on Wednesday. There were none today, right? There haven't been any since the abuse, which tells me that this is more than just police deciding, that this is Eric Garcetti deciding that this looks bad for him politically. And so I think it reminds us that we have a reason for being there, that it reminds us that we have to continue to take action, and we want to enlist the support of those who can't be there in physical form. We're there every single day at 9 a.m. on 6th and Irving. We are there to block Garcetti from Joe Biden's cabinet. We are there standing in the name. I love when Baba Akili, when we pour libation, calls on Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. We remember that the brutality that we face is nothing. Joseph showing her on his shirt, we have to build our own power. The brutality that we face is nothing compared to what Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer survived, and may have been, the beatings that she took undoubtedly contributed to her untimely death, right? And so we need to remember that we are standing on her shoulders and we have to push forward. But what was telling was that Garcetti, I'm sure, both called, he sicked the police on us as if they were his personal attack dogs. But then when it no longer looks good for his political calculation, the next day decides that they don't need police surrounding that house after all. And so it reminds us why we have to block Garcetti from Joe Biden's cabinet. It reminds us why his policies must not become national policies. So if you can join us every day at 9 a.m. on 6th and Irving, please do. Please meet us on 6th and Irving every day at 9 a.m. until we're assured that Eric Garcetti has no place on the Biden cabinet. And if you can come, or if you can't come, we want you to sign and share the petition to block Garcetti, which is available online at tinyurl.com/block Garcetti, tinyurl.com/block Garcetti. Kalila, if your friends are watching, they don't have to be 18 to sign this petition. right? So anybody can sign and share the petition. We need you to make your voice heard. And then finally, before we get last words from everybody, and we'll make them very brief last words, we also want to remember that police violence and state repression takes many, many forms. And we dedicate the show to the memory of Brandon Bernard, whose life was stolen just this evening. He was 18 years old when was accused of participating in a homicide. He's been on death row for more than 20 years. And tonight, the federal government stole his life. And so we invoke the name Brandon Bernard, and we struggle for justice. We're grateful that we have ushered in a day where the County of Los Angeles, at least, will no longer be using the death penalty. We want to make sure that the death penalty comes to an end. The racist death penalty comes to an end everywhere in this country. And we know that Brandon Bernard's life means something when we struggle for justice in his name, and we win that in his name. And so we say the name Brandon Bernard tonight. Last words, Baba Akili.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Ashe. Joseph.
Thanks, Doc. Just that it is our duty to fight for freedom. And there are so many ways that folks can get plugged in. It is imperative that we are raising our voices against these systemic injustices that we see going on, against the oppression and abuse of our people. And I appreciate you for lifting up the name and the life of Brandon Bernard, as we see our folks are under attack under so many different ways. And we have to continue to push forward and to build this beloved community and to build the world and the systems that we want to see after we topple these oppressive ones.
Ashe. Kalila, come with it.
I mean, since we're on the roll of Sada Shakur, we must love and protect one another, because we, as a community, are the ones that protect each other from everything, whether it's police violence or anything. We're there to support each other. And so continue to stay in the streets, continue to show up, because this is what we do. So show up tomorrow, Mayor Garcetti's house.
Ashe, Ashe. So please join us again next week on This Is Not a Drill. We are here every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Inshallah, we'll be here again next week, right here on Facebook Live. We want to thank Rory and Selena from Pro Bono ASL for always being here alongside us, for translating. Thank you so much. We want to thank Megan for having the behind the scenes work on lock, and we want to thank everybody who shows up and puts their bodies on the line for the cause of justice. For more on what we're doing with Black Lives Matter, please go to blmla.org. Our general meeting will be online this Sunday at 7 p.m. So we're looking forward to having as many of you as would like join us 7 p.m. on Sunday for our general meeting. We're reminding everybody it's also Black Xmas. Please build Black, buy Black, and bank Black. Divest not just from policing, but also from white capitalism that keeps us oppressed and uses police to protect its interests. So spend exclusively with Black-owned businesses that contribute to the Black community, that better the Black community. You can find out more on blackxmas.org. And we will see you next Thursday right here on This Is Not a Drill, inshallah. Peace and power, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Doc. Love y'all. Kalila, you are amazing.
See you in the morning.